Next up will be our last presenter is Larry Galehouse. He will be giving us an update on the implementation of ETF products.
Many of you have obviously heard about the Emulsion Task Force. We're a group that operates under the TSP2 AASHTO TSP2 umbrella the same way the partnerships do. We have a national group, and this group is pretty diverse. We have members from the states, testing labs, academia, Federal Highway, AASHTO, producers, and I represent the NCPP through TSP2. We also have members from organizations, the Asphalt Institute, EMA, ERA, Foundation for Pavement Preservation, ISSA, and NCAT. All total, we have 27 members and we have 50 friends. Now I say 50 friends because anybody can be a friend. And if you're interested, we would love to have you come in and sit in on the ETF meetings. A lot of the discussion earlier today were about standards and specifications. And one of the things the Emulsion Task Force is doing is writing these specifications to submit to the AASHTO Comp, that's a Committee on Materials and Pavement, and they submit them through the technical subcommittees there, and they're reviewed. Comments are made, we address the comments, and then they're sent through for a full comp vote of all 50 states. It wasn't that many years ago, we didn't have any standard specifications for pavement preservation treatments, and we started a few years back with the Emulsion Task Force, and now you can see that we're really filling in this matrix. I think this is due to some excellent leadership. I have to highlight Colin Franco from Rhode Island DOT and Chris Lubers that you heard from today. They're both co-chairs of the task force. But in this matrix, I want to call your attention to a few things. Chris Lubers talked about asphalt rejuvenators earlier. And one of the things that this group can really help us with is to push a research problem statement through so we can get some research done on these rejuvenators. We need performance-based specifications on rejuvenators. And you all know there's some real good ones out there, and there are some that aren't so good. And we need to be able to separate the performance factors out from those. Also, we need a study on the bonded surface treatments, or the ultra thin bonded wearing courses known as NovaChip. And we also have a research problem statement submitted for that as well, and also for sand seals. So anybody that can influence a research representative for AASHTO to vote these in, we would really appreciate that, because research really needs to be done in those areas. 3 things happened last week, and that is we received approval from COMP for chip seals, bog seals, and microsurfacing. These are the construction guide specifications. These are really what button up the whole specification package, the standards. You can see that we have an awful lot of material specs that are approved, an awful lot of design specs that are approved, and now the group is working on construction guidance specifications as well. You can see that some of the other things that have been done, work on updating the emulsified asphalt standards for anionic, cationic, and polymerized cationic emulsions. The other thing I wanted to call your attention to is that problem statement was submitted some time ago for surface performance graded emulsions. It was picked up, and now the study is being done through NCHRP 963. And what does this mean? We're going to actually start specifying emulsions for temperature areas. And so that's really important to get the proper emulsion used for the proper climate. And before, we have not had that. And so there's a number of things that are really coming to fruition on this whole specification issue. And I think that that was highlighted by Mark, and that was highlighted earlier in our discussions, the importance of having good specifications. These are standards that you can use. They're available to any state agency right now. because if you're a member of AASHTO, you have access to these specifications. Two other specifications we received notice for are from last week, and that's on quality assurance guides. These guides really set up what is required of the contractor, set up a quality control plan. What does an agency look for acceptance? And how does the independent assurance program work? And so now we have a quality assurance guide approved for chip seals and one approved for slurry systems, which are really your slurry seals and your microsurfacing and your polymer modified slurries. So very important, and you can get these from AASHTO. They're available, and by all means, please use them. A lot of things happened last week, and one of the things that did happen was we had a kickoff meeting to move forward with the NCHRP Project 20-44. And many of you know that research doesn't do us a whole lot of good unless we can implement it. Well, the research for chip seals and microsurfacing and fog seals was completed. But now this 20-44 is really to get these products, these specification standards implemented. And that's exactly what we're in the process of doing. The kickoff meeting was last Wednesday, November 4th, and now we're starting to move ahead. The goal is to get the states to adopt these specs. Now, when I say adopt them, it doesn't mean you have to adopt them in total, but what we want are portions of the specs at least you could reference in your state specifications or in your special provisions, because after all, you're constantly referencing AASHTO standards in your current state specs. And we think that's very important to reference these in your current state specs. There's different tasks involved with 20-44, and the National Center is leading the charge on this, along with the steering committee of the Emulsion Task Force. I and my son Neil were the co-PIs on this project. The first task we're into is information dissemination, and we plan on getting all of you folks involved in some way, because we're going to send you a questionnaire, and we're going to ask some pretty basic questions, and we want to really understand what the agencies are aware of that's out there and get some feedback from the agencies on how we're going to best proceed. We're going to write some magazine articles. We're going to assemble a speakers bureau through the ETF membership. And we're also going to develop some AV tools and printed materials. So that's our first task. The next task is your agency will be contacted. There may be some discussion with some of the folks in your area or in your leadership positions about these new specifications, new standards. It's very important. We also intend to go out and make presentations about the new standards at national meetings and conferences. These would include maybe the subcommittee on, the comp subcommittee on materials and payments. It would also be and now they don't call them subcommittees, they call them committees. So I'm dating myself, but the committee on maintenance and the committee on construction. Those are some national meetings. Regional meetings, obviously the partnerships, but there are other regional meetings that maybe the user producer groups have. And then we're going to get involved with some of the state and local meetings. And so we want people to understand and recognize that there's some real good standards out there that could be used and should be used. Training is a big deal, because the ETF is ready to provide training to those agencies that want it and help them understand the nuances of these new specifications. And I think Stan brought this up earlier, the importance of training. We've got to have training, because we have one failure and it could really set back the program a lot of years, as Sarah said, 20 years, right, Sarah? These things are very important. Training materials, we have one-page white papers out there that really give you the changes in the specifications, but we're putting together PowerPoints and manuals and workbooks and technical brochures once the day comes that we can actually sit down together, and we'll share those technical brochures. Finally, demonstrations. Our goal is to conduct a demonstration of either a microsurfacing, chip seal, or a fog seal. And we would like to do one of each in the 4 AASHTO regions, or the 4 partnership regions. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be a state that's doing the demonstration. It could be a local agency, but the whole purpose is to utilize the specifications for construction, materials, and design, and we want to showcase those new concepts. We have some funding available that we can bring some agencies in to see some of the demonstrations, but they'd also get a little training when they come in to see the demonstration. Now, we're not paying for these projects, but what we'd like to be able to do is have state DOTs or local agencies that have these projects programmed already to utilize either all or a portion of the specifications during the project. So these are things that we're really willing to help and work with the agency to get these rolling. And any technical assistance that anybody needs, we're certainly there to offer. Where do we go next? And you've seen this maybe before, but we need you to find a demo project. And if your agency has one of these 3 treatments, a micro, a chip, or a fog, and you're willing to make this a demo project, and we'd be there to hold your hand in setting this up, if you would want that assistance, please let us know. And so with that, this concludes my presentation. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Sarah, and thank you.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.